Hello Internet, it's me Josh, the Aging Gamer. So, happy 30th anniversary to the Ninja Gaiden series! Woo! And to celebrate this milestone, Tecmo is doing... nothing. I know it's still pretty early in the year, so maybe Tecmo and Team Ninja could surprise us with something, but Ninja Gaiden seems to be left out in the dust on any kind of milestone celebration. I'd love to see some kind of new game, like how about Ninja Gaiden 4? It could be a throwback retro style game like the other companies have done with their series. Hell, I'd take a re-release of the modern day Ninja Gaiden trilogy. Or maybe we can get Ryu Hayabusa as one of the DLC characters for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. God knows if Castlevania and Mega Man are represented in Smash, Ninja Gaiden should be the next legacy series to get a spotlight. I'll take anything, but I think the only thing we're gonna get with a hint of Ninja Gaiden in it will be Dead or Alive 6. Well, maybe the series just isn't as popular as I think it should be. The games are just tough as hell, and that turns off a majority of gamers. But hey, I love the series, and I even use the level intro music from Ninja Gaiden for my videos. And damn it, I'm gonna celebrate Ninja Gaiden's 30th anniversary. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the final game that I have to review for the Ninja Gaiden trilogy. This is Ninja Gaiden 3, The Ancient Ship of Doom. In 1991, Tecmo released Ninja Gaiden 3 on the NES and Famicom, with badass looking box art that at first glance makes Ryu Hayabusa looks like an amputee. And while it wouldn't be the last Ninja Gaiden game released in the 90s, it was the final game in the original series. We'd see a prequel Game Boy title, Ninja Gaiden Shadow, released later that year, but there was never a Ninja Gaiden 4, or a Super Ninja Gaiden for the SNES. How awesome would that have been? There was a Ninja Gaiden game on the Sega Master System and Game Gear, but we're starting to get off track. The story here starts off with Irene, who was Ryu's love interest in the past two games, appearing to be chased by Ryu Hayabusa himself. Irene falls to her death and Ryu Hayabusa is to blame. Without spoiling too much of the game's story, Ryu has to clear his name, fight some demons, make his way to Castle Rock, and not that Castle Rock, to fight off more monsters. There's some stuff with bionics and clones and, you know, saving the world from some world-destroying demon. The story is pretty ridiculous as you would expect, but if you want to check it out, I got another video for that. Now when it comes to the gameplay, if you played the first two games, you know exactly what to expect here. A bunch of jumping around, slashing, climbing, enemies jumping around all over the place, precise moments where you need to kill an enemy to avoid death and all that jazz. And from just looking at the gameplay, yeah, you'd think Ninja Gaiden 3 is just like the first two games but with new levels, but there's actually a lot of differences here. First off, Hayabusa now has the ability to climb on pipes and branches. He's able to shimmy and even attack with his ninja magic while doing this. There's also a new power-up that upgrades your sword. Getting this icon allows you to have a wider range of attack, making it so much easier to kill enemies. And of course, there's a few power-ups here, like the windmill throwing star and the kind of annoying to use vacuum wave art. Personally, I just stick with the good old classic fire wheel. Unfortunately, the awesome ability to make Shadow Ryus from Ninja Gaiden 2 is absent here. Now when it comes to the levels and gameplay, again, it is very, very different. First off, Hayabusa has a more floaty feel to him. You might not notice it at all, but if you play the other Ninja Gaiden games in comparison, his jumps are just a tad slower. It's quick to get used to though. Also, this game pleasantly changes one of the biggest annoyances of the first two titles. Once you kill an enemy, it stays dead. No longer will they keep coming back if you go back a screen or so. Amazing! That alone, you'd think this game would be the easiest game in the series, but that's not the case. Depending on whether you're playing the Japanese or the American version of Ninja Gaiden 3, you're either playing the easiest game or you're playing the hardest game in the series. Let me explain. Apparently back in the NES days, Americans loved crazy difficult video games. Not me personally, but that was the reputation we had. While the Famicom version of Ninja Gaiden 3 was a lot more accessible to the average gamer, the NES version got a giant difficulty buff. For example, the Japanese version got a password system. The American version? Well, you have to beat it in one go. The Japanese version also got infinite continues. The American version only got 5 continues? Only 5 continues? Are you kidding me? Could you imagine going back and playing the first Ninja Gaiden game with only 5 continues? How are you supposed to learn and perfect your Ninja Gaiden skills with only 5 goddamn continues? The changes don't stop there though. The Japanese version was also pretty generous with how much power-ups you would get, while the American version was a lot more stingy, making certain upgrades pretty damn rare. Not only that, but in the American version there's an increased amount of enemies and spikes actually do more damage, there's less health pickups, the knockback when hit by an enemy is somehow worse, and the level checkpoints are changed to be more inconvenient, making you have to go through more level sections when you lose a life compared to the Japanese version. So yeah, the American version of Ninja Gaiden 3 got turned from the easiest in the series to the absolute hardest. That's not to say that the Japanese version of the game is easy by any means, but if you want to play this game and have an enjoyable time, the Japanese version would be the way to go. With all the differences aside, and just looking at the American version of Ninja Gaiden 3 as a whole, is it a great game? Well, yeah, it's still fun to an extent, it's just ultra hard. It's very much a Ninja Gaiden game. If you played the first 2, you know exactly what to expect here. How much mileage you get out of this game depends on how much you can tolerate the difficulty. With only 5 continues, I find it harder to enjoy than the first 2, because with infinite continues, you have the opportunity to try again and better yourself. Here you'll have 5 chances throughout the entire game. When it's all said and done, Ninja Gaiden 3, The Ancient Ship of Doom, is definitely my least favorite of the 3. Not just because of the difficulty though, but a variety of other reasons, such as the level designs being a bit bland visually. Ninja Gaiden 2 I think is the best looking in the series. A lot of the levels looked really neat and has some nice visual effects, like the cool train level, the green acid trip looking level, and the mountain level where the wind blew you around just made the game feel so much more alive. In Ninja Gaiden 3, you'd think they'd continue to improve on those features, but they don't. The first 2 levels look pretty cool and there's a nice rain effect in Act 5, but the rest feels pretty bland. A lot of generic, been there, done that type of looking areas. And while I actually really like the boss fights here in Ninja Gaiden 3 more than the first 2 titles, when it comes to the standard enemies, it feels like there's no variety. Some enemies you'll see in almost every damn level of the game. On an upside, the cutscenes look as great as ever, though a bit seizure-inducing towards the later half, and the music is still blood-pumping and intense. And hey, we get to hear Ryu talk for the first time. Well, technically yelling, I guess. But with it all said and done, I just don't find Ninja Gaiden 3 to be on the same level as the first 2. That's not to say Ninja Gaiden 3 is bad, it's just not as good. I kind of feel like the series ended on a flat note, but hey, the series got to see better days with the Team Ninja reboot in the early 2000s. But hey, these are just my opinions. What do you guys think? You think the game is good? You think the game is bad? Let's talk about it in the comments below. Like always, I appreciate you guys watching this video, and if you want, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.